In this video, we're going to be talking about 7 benefits of attending live events, plus going through some of the coolest and best opportunities in the live event, conference, and convention space when it comes to YouTubers and online video influencers. So thank you so much for being here. But if you're just jumping on or watching on the replay, Benji's going to tell you a little bit about video influencers and what this channel is all about.
Thank you guys for coming to Video Influencers. If you're new here, I want to introduce ourselves. Of course, I'm Benji. You just heard from Sean, and this is Video Influencer, helping you build your influence, income, and impact with online videos. And Sean and I have been doing this for about 8 years. Yes, we've been on YouTube for 8+ years, I think. And we've been in video for a combined amount of 20 years. And we've been building our own channels. We've been supporting other people building their own channels and creating multiple business opportunities from them, whether it's like income from AdSense or sponsorships or building an outside business. And, you know, after doing this for 8 years, we learned a lot of things. And we decided a few years ago, we're going to start this channel, Video Influencers, to teach you guys everything we know. So we do weekly tips and tips videos, as well as interviews with top influencers. So, you know, Sean and I, we're really proud of what we've learned and what we can share and teach you guys. However, there's so many different ways to work YouTube. So we love the interviews, and that's what we do. We interview people like Casey Neistat, Gary Vaynerchuk, you know how hot he is right now, even YouTubers that you may not know about, you know, smaller YouTubers. So go check that out. Thank you for joining us. And you know what? We're here to help you guys with your YouTube channels, with your business, and make an impact with online videos. So I'm really excited to be here this Saturday morning because you guys are the ones that are crushing it. You're grinding, you're hustling. It's the weekend, and guess what? You guys are ready to make this happen. Let us know in the comments area if everything sounds good. Hit me up on Twitter. Video Influencers is where you can find us on Twitter. So.
Absolutely. So thanks so much for jumping on, Benji. I don't think we had distribution of this live for whatever reason. So guys, if you're watching or you're on the replay, can you do a couple things? Can you share this out and hit the like button? Because I actually don't think even the current subscribers of Video Influencers for whatever reason saw it. But want to greet Rasat, want to greet Media Tech TV. Thanks so much for being here. And let's just dive right in. So we're talking all about 7 benefits of attending live events. Maybe you've attended a conference before, a YouTube event, or any kind of a business event, personal development, maybe even for a faith event or something like that. We wanted to get on, and especially because this channel really focuses on online video, share some events with you, but we want to kick it off first with some of the benefits. And so we'll just kick up number 1. We have 7 benefits of why you should attend an event this year. Maybe grab a journal, look at your calendar, and look at some of the dates of these. But why in the first place? Why should we even do it? Benji, I don't know if you want to kick it off with point number 1. Like,
Absolutely.
Why even invest? Take the time, the money, maybe travel, maybe a hotel. It definitely takes resources, but it's worth it. Here's 7 reasons why. Benji.
Absolutely. Well, a broad overview, okay? Because a lot of YouTubers probably can relate to someone like me who lives kind of off the beaten path. I live about 45 minutes north of Seattle. Seattle isn't really known for YouTube, so it's really important for me to connect with other YouTubers in person. So these events are a great way to do that. And the first thing that I love about these live events, whether they be conferences, meetups, or, you know, some kind of educational program, is the education. What you learn. You know, you're learning from the best in the industry. You're learning from professionals that are behind the scenes, that are teaching you the nitty gritty, and you're getting the latest and greatest information. It's so important because, you know, as digital influencers, we kind of live in our own bubble. Yes, we're exposed to what's happening on social media. We're probably still talking to other creators as well as our viewers. However, when you go to a live event, it's different. And especially when they're set up, like some of the events we're going to be talking about, where they're specifically teaching about things that maybe you wouldn't learn about in your own experiences. So that's my first tip, or my first reason for why you should attend a live event.
Tip number 2 is to expand a couple things. Expand your thinking, expand your ideas, and expand just your exposure. You know, when you go to these live events, it's like an unstoppable creative environment. You get to see other people. There's all this energy, and sometimes we just need that. It's a boost of creativity. It's a boost of ideas. And it's just being in an environment where you can get exposed to new apps, because of course there's vendors, new apps, new software, new cameras, new things that are happening in the space. And so it's just a great opportunity to really start boosting your creativity.
Absolutely. And, you know, we're going to roll right into tip number 3, which is probably my favorite. I don't know if I said that about number 1, but this is absolutely my favorite reason to go to these events, and why I really think and advise you guys to check out events that are in your area, or if you have to travel. Connecting with other influencers. Again, going back to what I was saying before, when we're going solo, as many YouTubers are in the beginning of their YouTube careers, their YouTube channel journey, connecting with creators is so important. Obviously, collaborating with people, right? Doing videos like us. We love going to these events because we love to interview a lot of you guys, as well as other people that are crushing it in YouTube. And that's the best way. So Sean and I sometimes will do these video tours, right? And we'll like interview 2 or 3 people within the span of a week, maybe when we visit a certain city. When we go to these events, we can interview 10 to 15 within a 2 to 3 day period, which is awesome. So think about in your channel, what are the collaborations you're looking to do? Who are the people you're just trying to connect in general, to network with, that potentially could be going to these events? And I think that's really important to just be able to go to and plant the seeds for future collaborations even. You know, you don't actually have to go to these events and hustle. A lot of times, a lot of creators, including ourselves, are super busy, whether they're speaking, they're on panels. Maybe people are just trying to learn, right? They're not necessarily there to create content, even though I feel a lot of people are. So just planting the seed. So getting to be introduced to people, building the relationship, and then networking, so that in future days, right, whether it's at another event or online collaboration, that you're getting that exposure to all these people that you otherwise would not be able to meet in person.
Absolutely. Tip number 4 is it's not just a great opportunity to go network with people, it's a great opportunity to network with brands, and we call it like biz dev with brands. And so a lot of times at these events, you'll run into other managers from the industry. There'll be booths of companies that are in the industry. And a lot of times these could lead to the introductions that lead to future collaborations, or like paid sponsorships, brand deals, and maybe free product, a lot of different opportunities. There's something so powerful getting off of the digital space, getting in person and shaking hands and meeting these people where maybe they never noticed your tweets and your emails, but they're like, you know what, I did want to connect with you. You galvanize it when you're in person, and then you can start, you know, working on those projects throughout the year.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, this is the thing about brands, okay? I don't know if Sean just mentioned this, but I feel that brands are all about connecting with influencers, obviously, to do sponsorships, to get their products, their services out there. It's the easiest place for them. And we don't really talk about this event, but even events like NAB, CES, right? Those are places that you want to go to be able to connect with brands. And I don't know, Sean, if you want to talk about that, but I know those are events that I didn't think I would want to go to necessarily as a YouTuber, because they're more specific in those industries. However, after going to CES for the first time and seeing other YouTubers there, I realized, you know, the power of being at the events where tons of brands are there, and meeting a brand rep in person is just so powerful. So Sean, I can take it to number 5, unless you want to piggyback on that.
Yeah, in just a second, I want to say what's up to EV Tech Reviews. Hannah, what's up? Hey, we didn't have the distribution of this go out, so if you could do us a favor and you hit the like button, hit us up in the live chat. We're going to do Q&A in a bit. And actually, if you could share this out, that would be awesome. We're talking about 7 benefits of live events, and then we're going to get into a whole list of upcoming events for video creators and video influencers. But right now, we're on tip number 5. Benji, what is it?
Tip number 5 is content creation. Yes. I did mention it earlier. Content creation, you know, obviously, if you're there with YouTubers, you can collab with them, right? If you're there with brands and they've got their products or services, you can do videos. Sean actually does this at places like CES, right? Like he'll actually go to the booth and create a video on the spot, right? Especially if it's like new stuff. In addition to that, you know, there's this idea of tent polling, okay? Tent polling means there's these topics that are really popular, and at the beginning, they're getting a little bit of buzz, and then at the top, that's the event, and then after the event, it kind of like scales down, right? Well, you want to catch those at the top if you're at the event, right? So for your content, like as a vlogger, I'm a vlogger. So big events like VidCon or VloggerFair, I go to them and people are not only interested in me being there, but interested in seeing who else is there too. So it's a great time to capture the attention people have on these events and put them in your titles, right? Put them in your descriptions so that when people are searching, I know people do this. They're like searching for content around the event if they can't go themselves. And this is your opportunity as a vlogger, maybe other types of content creators, to feature what's going on at the event to your viewers without them having to be there.
Exactly. And we can roll right into number 6 to summarize some of these points. You know, I think when you look, if you go to an event strategically, we mentioned number 5 to create content, and number 6 to collaborate on content. So Benji's kind of summarized all these things. You might do a collaboration with somebody, or who could you interview at the next live event, or who could you could just create content while there. As Benji just said, maybe you do your 5 biggest takeaways from VidCon or something like that to your audience. Or if you go to a industry related event in the beauty space, you say you share some of the updates and some of the things, and just by yourself, not a collab, not an interview, but creating content at the event. Being there is so electric. It'll spark your ideas. And a lot of times your audience and community want to hear your recap. They want to hear your tips. They want to hear what happens there. And so let me recap these really quick, and then Benji hit number 7. So why live events? And then we have a whole list of events we want to share with you guys. Number 1 is to learn, right? Learn the latest information and the best information. Number 2, expand your thinking, expand your creativity. Number 3, to network with other people. Number 4, to network and biz dev with brands. Number 5, to create content. Like maybe Benji and I, whenever we go to events, we'll just create content in the hotel rooms. Like even whether it's related to that or not, we're like, he lives in Seattle, I live in Vegas. So a chance at a live event is an opportunity to get together and just create your own content. Number 6, to create content with other people, maybe interview people at the event or collaborate with other people there. And then number 7, Benji. Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
My bad. Number 7 is encouragement. Now, this is huge because one of our more popular topics is motivation, inspiration, right? Like, how do you get out of a rut? And this is one of the best ways. I agree, because Sean and I, just so that you guys know, Sean's in Las Vegas right now. I'm in Seattle. So we don't get to see each other in person very often. But when we're together, it's like crazy. Like we get tons of work done. We create tons of content, and it's just a good vibe, lots of encouragement to each other. So imagine going to an actual event where there's hundreds, if not thousands of other creators, right? At all different levels. And especially when you're hearing from other people in person that are crushing it, people like Gary Vaynerchuk, right? People like Casey Neistat, or anybody that you might look up to. There's a certain energy in the room, and that's so powerful for you if sometimes you feel a little stressed out or you're feeling a little bogged down. Maybe you're not feeling very inspired. Like you don't feel like taping videos. You're not getting any ideas. Go to one of these events, and some magic is going to happen. I do, and I feed off this so big. Right now, it's cloudy and raining here in Seattle, right? Which it's been like this the last 3 months. So I look forward to these events to do that, in addition to creating the content, connecting with people, just to get that spark of inspiration to want to get back into the trenches, right? Want to get in front of the camera there or back at home. So I love tip number 7. Sean, I would love to hear from you, like what kind of inspiration you get from these events.
I agree. What happens, I think, is you work so hard. I mean, if you're watching this channel, we know that you're recording videos, you're trying to be creative, come up with ideas, and it's very draining. I mean, that life, sometimes what people don't understand, your family members, your friends, they don't understand. They don't think that you're working. They're like, oh, you know, this hobby, or, you know, what you're doing on YouTube, that's this or that. And it can be a lot of fun, but it also takes a lot of energy. And so I find it so encouraging to get around people who are also doing the same thing, who can relate when you say, yeah, I shot a whole video and I forgot to turn the mic on, and I lost an hour's worth of content, or who can relate to the grind of trying to post weekly. You just get around like-minded people and there's synergy there. And then also it's just encouraging to see like, okay, I'm not crazy. Because sometimes if I go to Starbucks here in my neighborhood, no one wants to talk to me about YouTube. Like no one even has any idea. They start like, what do you do again? You know what I mean? But when you go to an event, you're like, whoa, there's a whole bunch of other people who think like I do, and we are on the same path. So we definitely recommend that you make time, that you dedicate the money, the time, the resources to attend a live event this year, because there's so many benefits. And with that, let's jump into a couple of the opportunities. Now we're focusing on kind of YouTube online video focused events. And then at the end, we'll mention a couple honorable mentions and some niche specific ones. But the first one, and these are kind of in order about opportunities to still attend in 2017. And so the first one is Playlist Live. We'll also mention some of the ones that we're going to be at. We're not going to be at Playlist, I don't think, this year. The first one's coming up in Orlando. One's coming up in Washington, D.C. And one of the things to know about Playlist is it's kind of more of like a fan event, which is cool. But a lot of times what we see is there's the difference of going to maybe meet your favorite creators and get autographs and do meetups. And then there's ones that are really good for learning and strategy and tips and tactics. But Playlist is kind of more of a fan event. Benji, I don't know if you have any thoughts about Playlist, or you want to jump to our next event.
Yeah, I mean, Playlist is an awesome event, and it's been going on for a few years. Definitely, you know, the thing about Playlist that there's multiple locations, right? So if you're on the east side, it's probably going to be really beneficial and convenient for you to go. But I want to talk about the second event that's coming up and that we will actually be going to, which is ClamourCon. Now, ClamourCon is actually a brand new event. They have had many events in the past, but what's different about ClamourCon is this is a creator-specific event. So this isn't like a FanFest. This isn't, you know, a place where YouTubers meet their viewers. This is specifically for creators and influencers, and they do have a minimum subscribership or a minimum threshold for amount of views in a month. So you have to go to the website. If you're interested in going, definitely click the link down below or go to ClamourCon.com. Now, Sean and I were just recently invited to this, and we're excited for it because I've never heard of an event quite like this. It's taking a very technical event, like where you're going to learn for something very specific, and taking something like a Playlist, which is very like almost like a fan type event, and putting them together, and it's going to be pretty ridiculous. You're talking like hundreds of creators there. It's at a private location. Again, you have to either be invited to go, or you have to hit a certain minimum requirement, because they really want to make this about creators connecting with other creators. So ClamourCon, if you're going to be going to the, we look forward to meeting you, and we're going to be interviewing a lot of people. So put in the comments below if you're going, because maybe we could interview you.
Definitely. And so we will also list up in the description these events so you can research them and check them out later. And hey, if you're just jumping on and joining us, can you hit that like button and share this broadcast out? We talked about Playlist Live. That's an event. We talked about ClamourCon. And the next one would be VidCon. Now, a lot of people know about this. This is probably the largest kind of online video YouTube focused conference. The 8th annual VidCon is coming up in Anaheim soon, June 21st through the 24th. We attend this one every year. And a couple things to know about. There's a couple other opportunities. There's Europe in April in Amsterdam, and then there's Australia later in the year as well. And so you can check out this event. But the big thing to know here is there's 3 levels. And so there's Community Pass, which is more like, okay, you're a fan, you want to get the autographs, meet some people, and see some of the entertaining presentations. There's Creator Pass, which is if you are a creator. So this is really what we would recommend for video influencers watching, that you would at least get the Creator Pass. It's going to open you up to a lot of the deeper learning. And then there's the Industry Pass. You can see it's pretty expensive, but that's more for the people in the industry. It goes a little bit higher level in learning, but it also goes like higher level in just what's happening in online video overall from an advertiser standpoint, from a brand standpoint. And it literally has on 3 different levels because the Anaheim Convention Center has 3 major stories. So the community level is like the first floor, entertainment, a lot of that stuff. Creators, the second floor. And then on the 3rd floor is the industry level. And this event is crazy. 25 to 30,000 people, a lot of networking opportunities. And so Benji could probably have some things to share. We'll be at VidCon this year. Would love to meet up with you and connect.
Absolutely. I mean, like, and we're going to give some tips and tricks at the end on how to handle these events because VidCon, I don't know if you mentioned it, Sean, but I think it's going to be hitting like 30,000 people. I mean, it's crazy how big it is. But I want to talk about the next event, which is kind of similar, is also growing, which is CVX Live. Okay, CVX Live is in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's let's see, August 3rd through the 5th. Now, I personally have not gone there. This year, we have been invited to that event, so I'm excited to attend. No guarantees there. I'm still talking to some of the people planning it, but very similar to VidCon in the sense that, you know, creators coming there, you get to meet some of the influencers. They've got meetups. What I love about it, it kind of sets it apart from other ones. It's very family friendly. If you've ever been at a lot of these other events, right? Don't get me wrong. I think that families should still go, but the point is it gets so crazy that, you know, you almost have to like have your kid like super close to you. CVX, they're really conscious about families and kids coming to their events. And we know one of the people in that organization that helped run it, and they're really focused on making it family friendly. So that's one of the things that sets it apart. But again, like VidCon and some of these other events, you can go there and learn from other YouTubers, connect with YouTubers, and meet your favorite YouTubers. So.
And if you're just joining us, we're talking all about some of the must-attend events this year. And we talked earlier, so you can watch the replay, about some of the benefits of live events. And so the next one is going international. It's called Summer in the City, and this is in London, UK, coming up in August. And so this is kind of going to be similar to a VidCon and a playlist, but over in the UK. And so there's definitely more opportunities, and we have a couple more coming up later that are also international as well.
Exactly. So just like the other ones, VidCon is growing. They're going to different locations. We want to go to the Australia one. Again, we're still putting that on the back burner. Next one is VidSummit. Now, I don't actually know a lot about VidSummit. I do know it's put on by our friend Daryl Eves, and you're talking some ninja stuff. I really want to have Sean talk a little bit more about it. But what I love about VidSummit and events like it is it's getting more specific about what they're teaching. You know, when you go to VidCon, they teach all kinds of different things in all kinds of different rooms from all different creators, right? I'm seeing these very niche type events, just like niche type of channels. If you don't know what niche means, it's like a focused type of content or a topic. And that event is crazy. So if you want to be like a super ninja in the video creating world, that's an event to go to. Sean, I think you should totally talk about a little bit about what goes on at that.
Yeah, when it comes to all these events, if there was a spectrum of like, it's kind of fan based and it's more to just go be entertained and meet your favorite creators, that's maybe like a playlist live. If we went to the opposite side about what is like the fully strategic, like what are the tricks, the tactics, and the best campaigns, then VidSummit is definitely that event. It's like VidCon industry day on steroids, kind of. It's like really you're going deep with the learning. And so our friend Daryl Eves runs that, a lot of great speakers. And so it's very tactical. So it's great for creators who really want to take their learning and their strategy to the next level. But of course, also people that are maybe you're also wanting to make some money on the side or kind of start an agency where you help local businesses with video marketing. You're thinking about doing video Facebook ads, YouTube advertising. You're thinking about, helping small businesses with YouTube. VidSummit is definitely an event worth checking out for all those kinds of things. Details aren't out on it yet as far as the public dates, but it'll probably be, just fourth quarter for sure fourth quarter 2017, and more info will come out about that soon.
Yes, and going right into the next event, which is in my corner of the world, which is called VloggerFair. Again, very specific type of event. VloggerFair is exactly what it is. It's an event for vloggers, started by our friend Chris Perillo right here in the Seattle area. I believe it's on its 4th or 5th year, and it caters directly to people that are vlogging and want to meet their vloggers or want to become vloggers. So it's everything vlogger. The dates are to be determined, but check it out. You can go to their Facebook page. Just type in VloggerFair. They're really good about getting their website up onto Google, and definitely a good one to check out, especially if you want to experience what it's like here in the Northwest.
Absolutely. We love that event, especially because it's up in Seattle. And then the last one we want to mention before some honorable mentions is FanFest. So this event is giving you a lot of global opportunities, whether Mumbai, Bangkok, Jakarta, Tokyo. So definitely a cool event. You can go to the FanFest website. And as we mentioned, we have links to all these websites in the description below. So hopefully you can find an event that is as close to you as possible in dates that work for you, because there's so much power in attending live events for all the reasons we mentioned earlier. But then there's a couple other angles that you want to consider. And hey, we'll do some Q&A in just a little bit. If you're jamming in the live chat with us, JQ Vlogs, thanks so much for being here. Says he wants to go to VloggerFair. Yeah, Annie Mouse Music says, are there any events like these in Europe? Yeah, in the UK, we mentioned Summer in the City. But again, check out links in the YouTube description.
VidCon Amsterdam is next week.
Yeah, VidCon Amsterdam. You might be able to make it over to VidCon Amsterdam soon. And so, but a couple other ones to consider is industry-specific events, meaning if you know, for instance, that if you're in the beauty lifestyle niche, then Generation Beauty or something like that. These types of maybe beauty influencer conferences. We feel like there's value too, like even if it's a blogging or social media conference, not focusing on video, but it's related to your niche, maybe worth going to network with people and do some creative things together. And so a couple mentions, we talked about Generation Beauty. There's also things like TwitchCon. So of course, in the gaming space, there's a lot of conventions that are gonna be focused for gamers if you have a gaming YouTube channel. And then Benji talked a little bit about earlier, like for me as a tech YouTuber, I'm going to NAB mid-April. It's the National Association of Broadcasters here in Vegas. And this is where all the latest cameras and lighting and tripods and microphones, as well as apps, software, video editing software. And then it's also a lot of creators. You'll meet creators. It's not a YouTube focused conference, but last year we shot, I think, an interview at NAB with Sonny Leonarduzzi that was posted here on Video Influencers. Devin Supertramp. Met him at NAB, and that was where our interview came from. So sometimes you'll be able, if it's not very much a video influencers kind of specific conference, you could still find kind of creative entrepreneur, contentpreneur type events that you can get to.
Yeah, and just a couple more we want to mention. There's a couple award shows that are very popular. And again, when I talk about tent pulling, there's a lot of buzz around these because they're awarding some of the dopest creators all over the world. Buffer Festival, we got the Streamies. You guys, again, links would be down below, but those are places where they're actually giving awards to YouTubers. Sometimes there's opportunities for you to actually attend as a viewer. In addition to that, this is one that Sean put down on the list that I totally didn't think about, but is a great example of one of the ones that maybe aren't on a lot of people's radar, but definitely something to go check out. Social Media Examiner puts on, what's it called? Social Media Marketing World. Yep. And it's an event in San Diego. You can actually go to their website. It looks like the next one is going to be February 28th to March 2nd, 2018. I'm probably going to go to that for sure. I keep missing that. But again, you're talking about like, one of the #1 reasons to go to these events is to learn, right? And as much as I like things like VidCon and Playlist Live, the reason I like these kind of events because it's going to be very productive, and maybe not necessarily meeting other YouTubers or collaborating, but you're learning things from the people behind the scenes, right? From industry professionals, they're crushing it, not necessarily for YouTubers, but for businesses. We know some of those people, but you can absolutely apply that kind of stuff. I know I've learned things from events like these or people from events like these and applied it in my YouTube and just social media growth strategies in general, and just crushed it. Because again, these aren't things that YouTubers necessarily talk about even when they're hanging out with each other. So I don't know, Sean, you should probably mention a couple things about this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing to look into is like industry type events. Even if you're just on YouTube as your primary focus, something like Social Media Marketing World and events like that are great to check out. And hey, we want to take your questions, about anything. We'll stay on for a bit about online video, but we have a couple questions already. So definitely jump into the live chat, or even if you're watching on the rebroadcast, put things in the YouTube questions. Dulce Mom Life said, how much are the events? We put links to all of them. They vary. Sometimes ClamourCon is actually free, but it's application only. And then things like VidCon, a community pass, is more affordable, but then it goes up as you get into like a creator pass, same thing. So there's links in the description below. Someone else asked here, there's a good question. How do you get invited to these events? JQ Vlogs, you can just go. I mean, you usually need to pay registration. And typically you're not getting invited necessarily, but yeah, you can just register. So again, we'll link up the ones we've talked about in the description. And you can always maybe go to Google and type in must attend social media conferences, and you might be able to find some local ones. But hey, we want to answer your guys' questions, bring those in. And I want to share one more power tip with you, especially if you don't have any money and you don't think you can travel very far. One other site to definitely know about as an influencer is meetup.com. And I've actually had a lot of cool things happen, whether that was people that we've worked with. We had a summer intern for a while that I met on Meetup, a whole bunch of cool things. But meetup.com is a way to find in your local area a lot of cool things related to maybe social media, online marketing, online video. So I just typed in social media, 25 miles of Las Vegas here. I'm in some different groups. And so like this SEO meetup, I've met a lot of cool people there. It's locally in the city. You have like small business, like check this out, April 5th, Internet Marketing Entrepreneurs Business Networking Event. I find like sometimes you don't even know who's in your own backyard in your own city. And so meetup.com is free, and so is most of the events. And you can go meet people. Maybe it's a future collab. Maybe it's just getting out of your box and talking to somebody in a different industry, or maybe it's actually meeting other YouTubers. And out of that, we've actually been building a list in Vegas. I almost have 100 people. I couldn't find them by searching for them, but I almost have 100 people on a Google Doc, creators of all different sizes that I've been kind of meeting so that we can eventually do some gatherings in Vegas, because it's an easy place to get to, and maybe some trainings and some meetups and some things like that. And if you're interested in something like that, let us know definitely in the comments. Totally. And so anyways, we'd love to take your questions if you have any thoughts.
I got a question from I'm Real Marquise, and asked, what's the best way to grow more with going to these events? Which actually goes right into part 2. We won't go too much into it, but again, I want to acknowledge this question, Marquise, because it's actually a really good one, because these events can be so crazy, whether it's the smaller ones that are very technical or the bigger ones that are more about fans and viewers. And couple things to mention. You got to plan out your strategy, right? You got to plan it out. I remember the first time I went with Sean, I remember sitting in the front row. It was VidCon. Like my mind was blown. It was the first day. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to take over the world with all this information. But man, everything just goes by so quickly. And if you've never been to one of these events and you don't even know what to plan, what I would do is like plan out some of the things you want to accomplish and give yourself enough buffer time to do it. So it's really important. I know Sean and I, we totally kind of planned it out. We not only create goals, but we kind of plan out our schedule. And then every single day we talk about, okay, what are some of the new events? What are the ones that we're going to not go to? How are we going to shift? Because, what you don't want to do is go there and let everything pass by. And like Marquise is asking, you don't actually grow, right? You don't actually learn. You don't actually connect. So it's actually better to be very purposeful and planned out, and maybe do less but get more out of it than try to do everything and not get very much out of it at all. And another thing I want to mention too about collaborating for part 2, which is this. Reach out to other YouTubers. A lot of people want to network, right? In addition, they want to actually collab, create videos. Sean and I, what we do is we don't wait for the event to reach out to people. We reach out way before. So if there's a list of people that are going and we want to potentially like connect with them, we'll reach out beforehand on Twitter. We'll start hitting them up if we have their email. And that's really important if you want to maximize your time. Sean, anything you want to mention about that since you're so good and maybe even, wrapping it up?
Yeah, I think we have a ton of great questions coming in about events. So one of them is, let me see here. Is it worth it as a small creator to attend VidCon? That question came in a couple times. Should you have a certain subscriber amount before attending? I think it's worth it. If you can get to one of these events, it's worth it because for all the reasons we mentioned in the beginning, I don't think you should expect, like some miraculous thing to happen. Like if you go with 100 subscribers, you're going to leave with 10,000 subscribers. But I think in going, it's a chance to meet people. It's a chance to, again, learn some of the best information and just keep building. There's something electric about going, and you might meet a relationship that's really critical to your growth or a lot of serendipitous opportunities. One of the things that happened at the last event, even we have an interview show, obviously we had interviews planned, but we were done for the day walking out of the building and we ran into an influencer just standing outside. We're like, dude, what is this guy doing here? Pretty well-known internet marketer guy you see all over on a bunch of ads. And we saw him, and then next thing you know, we just shot an additional interview. Why? Because we were just there. So sometimes people say, man, how do you land some of the interviews you get? Sometimes it's friendship. Sometimes it's because we reach out. And sometimes it's because we just run into them of the courtyard of VidCon with no prior planning. And so there's a lot of serendipity that happens. So I would suggest if you can get to one, that you definitely should try to get to one. Guys, thank you so much for the questions. We're going to keep grabbing those. Benji, I'd love to hear your opinion on this question. R3B says this: is it tacky to hand out business cards for your YouTube channel? I understand channels offer services, but what about for vlog channels?
Yeah, this is the thing. I don't think anything is tacky as long as it works, right? So if that's what works for you, totally do that. Like I get cards all the time. I'm not like a big card guy because I'm in the digital age. I'm like, hey, just text me your information or whatever. But there's often times like if you stand out to me, I will keep your card. I have this stack of cards literally sitting in front of me right now that I just like wait to connect with you when I have time, So I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, like, there's a reason people use cards for like decades and decades because it's effective. It's a way to give your information in a very quick manner. They put it in their pocket, they bust it out, and they can do it. And there's all these apps these days for taking pictures of people's cards. So I don't think it is. I personally don't do it. But again, the deeper message I want to convey on you is don't think like, is this tacky? Is it not tacky? Is this good or bad? Whatever is working for you, for whatever your goal is with that card, you should do it.
Yeah, and I remember at VidCon, I really admire people's hustle. There was like a 14-year-old kid who like runs up to me and he's like, hey man, and he handed me like the Live Strong bracelets that had his channel information on. He's like, here you go. He's handing out to our group. Now, like Benji said, I actually thought like, dude, you're awesome. I'm like high-fiving him. I'm like, way to go on your grind and your hustle. But I never went and checked out his channel. Not because I didn't want to support him. It's because it happened at 11 a.m. and 8 more hours of conference happened. And next thing you know what I mean? It kind of is in one ear, out the other ear. And so I think you could do a lot of things to hustle. Know that at these types of events, you get so much of that. I mean, It's what everybody is doing. Every vlogger is handing out a business card about being a vlogger. So that kind of just goes back into a lot of things that we talk about, like how can you stand out? Like how can you be a little bit different?
I got a great story that Sean, you probably would appreciate as well. And I agree with you, at the end of one of the events, I could have 20 or 30 cards, right? And if you're a person that hands out cards, you probably have even more because people are like, oh, if you're going to give me a card, I'll give you my card or whatever. So, again, going back to what I said, it's being purposeful and getting a lot out of it rather than trying to do a lot and not getting very much. Michael Gebbin is a good friend of mine now, okay? Michael Gebbin, I don't know if I forget. I think his girlfriend at the time was a viewer of ours and mentioned you should meet Benji, right? He grabs me on one of the different levels and say, hey, Benji, just want to say my girlfriend watches your guys' vlog channel. It's been great. It's great to meet you in person. Would love to connect. and just talk. And he gave me his number. And for some reason, I was like, you know, he's like really wants to know me. He wants to chat with me. So I text him back, right? We ended up going to lunch and we're talking about stuff. He's sharing me with his crazy story or whatever. And he ends up 2 weeks later flying to Seattle, and we're collaborating on one of the biggest projects I ever had. That was like literally a 2-week period. Sean was actually supposed to be the guy that was the video guy for that project, but he was doing something else. So like Michael Gebbin. That's how crazy it can be, right? And we were talking Michael Gebbin at the time. Again, I don't look at you like based on your subscribers or view count, but just to put it into context, he didn't have very many subscribers at all. I think we're talking like 1,000 or 2,000. He wasn't even a YouTuber. He was doing something else, but he definitely wanted to grow his influence. He wanted to learn a little bit more, connected with me, shared his story, right? I feel like literally his whole trip was based on meeting me. I don't know if that was the case, but it felt like that because he was so purposeful. He was so focused on connecting with me whenever I had time, and then ended up in Seattle 2 weeks later. So you never know what is going to happen. And I don't know why Sean didn't mention who it was that he ran into, but you're talking that person that Sean ran into after doing like 10 interviews out 3 days is like probably the most epic interview we had that weekend. So these events are great because it just attracts all these people. But the one thing I want you to consider when you're going to these events, especially your first time, is don't feel the need to meet 100 people, right? You might think you need to meet 100 to meet that one, but actually you just have to be really focused and observant and listen, and that pre-planning, especially if Michael Gebbin pre-planned that, is genius. I don't know. That was magical, but those are the kind of things that can happen in these events.
Yeah, and if you have any other questions, hit us up in the live chat. And if one way to really help us see the questions is to type like 5 question marks before the question and after, so we can see that it's a question. Thanks so much for hanging out. Everybody, Galactic Gamers, Jash Outline, OMG, Becca. Great to have you guys. If you have any questions. But one thought I also had about these live events is also, as much good as can come with them, to not go frantically trying to make something happen all at one time. So I love that Benji talked about this thing that happened with Michael Gebbin, and it turned into something that happened 2 weeks later. But the other side of that is that sometimes the seeds basically that you'll plant by attending a live event might grow up 2 or 3 years later, because there's something about you meet somebody once, and this is where we recommend not like overselling. It's not like you don't want to meet someone at a live event and try to literally get introduced to them, you know, find out their name, ask them to go out with you, start making out, get married, and have children all in 30 minutes. And that's actually a huge mistake that people make at live events. Just like that illustration of a relationship, most relationships don't go, you know, from first base to to home run to marriage to kids overnight. The same way is like you cultivate your networking relationships. So sometimes you plant seeds and then it's a year later that they're like, man, I've been watching you for a while and I just had a transition and now let's do some things. And so always remember, and this kind of is an overarching theme here on Video Influencers that we're so passionate about, is that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And so, you know, don't try to go for the quick, like overnight type of success. Build a legacy little by little, and just, you know, have those meaningful connections, build the depth, and don't try to close the deal so quick all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's ironic you mentioned that because literally a few moments after that, I met somebody else, right? And I didn't know it at the time, but this other person I met, nothing happened from it immediately during the event or even a year afterwards. But now it's like a lifelong friendship. I've known this person for 4 years, and now we chat all the time. And what a lot of people don't know about this person is they literally have billions of views on YouTube, right? So you're talking about the marathon. This is definitely the marathon. I don't even look at that relationship as anything I'm getting out of it, but I absolutely do get things out of it. I learned so much. So again, you're going to these events and you're looking for something. There's thousands of other people looking for something too, whether it's just somebody starting out or someone like that who's just been in this game and got a billion views. The relationships are powerful. And I love that Sean brought this up because like what you're going to get out of these events might not be actually directly related to the event. It might be outside of them because the relationships are so powerful. The connections, the networking is so powerful. Think about, like, you know, you're not going to land a sponsorship necessarily right on the spot, right? I've had things like that happen, but a lot of times it's just like, you know, like, especially if you're a new YouTuber, you just build the connections. You know, one thing that people often forget to do, and Sean, I would love to hear if you agree with this or not, is a lot of people don't ever follow up. So they get these contacts with people, right? Or they have a business contact with like a brand, and the brand's like, yeah, just email me later. I bet you 90% of people never follow up, right? They may follow up like the next day or that day, but they're not following a week afterwards, a month afterwards, you know, 6 months afterwards. Even if they don't remember you, you can just be like, hey, got your card, got your contact, wanted to hit you up, you know. That day when you got that person's contact information, you might have had 0 subscribers. A year later, you might have 10,000, and the dynamic is different. Then they're like, oh, wow. But that contact information is so key. Typically, people don't put their email address or phone number on a website, especially if they're just like an employee at that brand or company. However, if you're at an event, typically if they give you a card or give you an email, they're giving you their personal email at that business. So having that Rolodex of contacts is super powerful, because you may never know when you might use that.
Absolutely. So let us know in the live chat or in the comments on this on the replay what you thought about this. Benji was mentioning a few tips there, and I really want to do a part 2 with Benji about some of the things like that. That's a huge, and that's like kind of a preview, right? That is one of the biggest mistakes I see people make. They don't follow up. I think when you schedule an event on your calendar, if the event is Friday and Saturday, that you should put some time next week on your calendar to go through and reconnect with everybody you met. Practical things like that. So in our next hangout, we'll be sharing some tips on that. An answer to one question on a different topic. Let's see. It was about how are we doing this live stream right now, and what are we doing to switch between the cameras? So FPL asks, you know, what software are you guys using? So this is actually technically YouTube Live with Google Hangouts. And if you have a YouTube channel, which you do if you're watching this, then you can go into your Creator Studio, you can go to YouTube Live, and then what you do is you just do a quick live with Google Hangouts, and anybody from anywhere can get on, just like Benji's in Seattle. I'm here in Vegas. We have a couple USB microphones. We've got our webcams and some lighting, and you could do a live broadcast just like this. And this is different than, of course, the YouTube mobile app live, which even if you don't have access to that yet, depending on the size of your channel, you can still go live like this from your desktop or laptop.
Absolutely. I have one more question I want to answer, because I've never had this question, but you know, I would love to answer it. JQ Vlogs asks, how can we request to be interviewed by you guys? I do all my vlogs and editing and upload with my smartphone, and interview from an upcoming vlogger to all other upcoming vloggers. So this is the thing. Sean and I, we literally have a long list of people we want to interview, or, you know, potentially are going to reach out to interview. And the thing is, I would love for you guys to share your story with us, right? Because a lot of the best interviews come from people that follow us, right? We look at who's following us. We look at your channel, and often, I don't know, I think, Sean, you just interviewed someone potentially, right? That we found when we were doing one of our subscriber love videos. And this is the thing. Follow us on Twitter, okay? Go to, just type in Video Influencers Twitter, right? I don't think we have an S at the end of Video Influencer on Twitter. Do a Twitter video about your story and hashtag Video Influencer, obviously use our handle, and let us know what your story is. But the point is, follow us there, because that's where we vibe with people directly, and it's the easiest way for us to communicate. And you know, if your story is compelling enough, we'll check out your channel. Potentially, you never know, we might want to interview, especially if we're at one of these events and you're there too.
Absolutely. So guys, Thank you so much for hanging out. A couple things. Can you help us get this video to 100 likes? That would mean the world to us if you hit the like button. If you jumped on somewhere during this, the replay is about to pop up. So at the beginning, you can catch all 7 points of why we think live events are so powerful, plus the complete list of all the events we talked about and some other ones that maybe we forgot about. We'll post those in the YouTube description all around the world. Great events to help you build your influence, your income, and your impact. And then also we'll be doing future live streams like that. So definitely stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you want to get notifications from us, ring the bell. Ring the bell here on Video Influencers. That way you can get notifications when we post new videos. We have new interviews coming out, new training videos, and notification squad. We love you so much. And so thanks so much for hanging out today. Benji, any final words?
Guys, do it. It's 3 months into 2017. Hopefully this inspired you, sparked something, not only to go to an event, but just go back and record videos. And we hope to see you at one of these events. And remember, here at Video Influencers, we're helping you build your influence, income, and impact with online videos.
Keep crushing it, guys, and we will talk soon.